knows that transformation starts within. Let Cherise help you discover your authentic self and live with confidence, purpose, and joy. Whether you're ready to grow your career, your relationships, or your mindset, Cherise can show you how to elevate. Book with her today at shareevans.com.
Mystery. Welcome to Our Soul Whisper with Kathy Belmont and co-host Dr. Pat. A sacred space for self-discovery, healing, and transformation. At the heart of Our Soul Whisper is the sacred truth. When we pause and listen inward, the soul always speaks. This show offers a safe, empowering space where those whispers are heard, honored, and lovingly guided into full expression. Each episode invites you to be curious about yourself and the reality you're in, while gently reminding you that you are exactly where you need to be. Let today's message settle in your heart. Maybe even journal about it. And if something resonates, peace, clarity, or insight, pass it along to someone whose soul might be calling for the same. Keep listening inward. Your soul knows the way. Our Soul Whisper starts now. Everyone, welcome to Our Soul Whisper with Kathy Belmont and me, Dr. Pat. This episode is, I don't know how to even describe it, but what Kathy came up with to talk about, I would say, is more than just an individual consciousness. There's a global consciousness out there right now. And today we're talking about tired of just surviving, discover how to truly thrive within. This is so very, very important. And it comes on the heels of the first day of the fire horse. But putting all that aside, Kathy, this is a great topic. And I get a sense that you selected this because you coach people, you hear what people are going through.
Yeah.
But boy, this sounds like an out of the gate 2026 theme or something. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I got in touch with, and even looking at my own life, I got in touch with, how we sometimes just survive, to get through our day. We're just, how do I get to the next step? And we're not, it takes us away from who we are and the creative beings that we are and that self-expression. So I really just thought it was really an important topic to look today and something that can happen very subtly and we don't even know it. And then all of a sudden we're in this state. And so it took me to kind of back to biology a little bit and looking at our nervous system and the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. That sympathetic is the one that says, oh my gosh, I'm out hiking and I hear something in the woods and I better brace up for that, whatever's coming. And then we say, oh, no, it was just a chipmunk. And so our parasympathetic can then come in and say, okay, good, it's time to rest. We can digest a little bit. And so when they're working together, it keeps our nervous system balanced. And I got so in touch with how incredibly wonderful our bodies are and how they take care of us and how regulated they are. When we look at survival mode, we're in that sympathetic nervous system all the time. I mean, it's activated all the time. And it doesn't give the parasympathetic a chance to jump in and say, hey, time to calm down now. And so that's where we get into, all sorts of things. We get we're in that state all the time. And so that can really disconnect us from ourselves and what we're needing in the moment, So just thought it was very, really something to look at, to really get in touch with what's going on with us. I know we talk about that a lot. And to really just take that time and say, what state am I in here,
Yeah.
So
I did a mock interview with one of our new hosts the other day, and she had selected a topic called signs. And so I want to talk to you about signs.
Mm,
And what do I mean by signs? I mean, you gave a great I don't have enough time to share the story of what happened to me camping one day, but that reaction, you're right about it. It's like, here you go, and you hear something, and it's a chipmunk or something, right? But your greatest fears make it a mountain lion or,
right.
like make it something that doesn't even exist in that part of the world. But let me
Mhm.
ask you this question because I was talking with someone the other day and they said something interesting to me and it really got to me. They said, I do not have anything to look forward to.
Mm,
And it
mhm.
hit me because I realized I had a little bit of a story of that. And I want to
Mm.
talk about that because I think it really attaches itself to hope, doesn't it? Can you talk about what survival mode actually is? And more importantly, there's got to be some strategies for people because there's so much of this going on right now.
Yeah, and I gave the example of the we're out in nature. However, if we look at our day to day, look how much stimuli we have going on. We have our day to day work, and then yeah, we have the global, what's going on in the world, and a lot of us can be very sensitive to that. And so, yeah, it's really looking at, and part of what kind of gets our nervous system going too is, what are our thoughts and beliefs? You said it there, it was a chipmunk, but yet we want to make it into a mountain lion. So what are the beliefs that we have and then those experiences that we're going back to? And that can be part of that too, having no hope or having no that demotivation, that can be all part of that nervous system just out of whack, one trying to make up for the other. And so it's really just a lot of the coaching there would be, well, what does that, nothing look forward to? What does that look like to you?
Yeah.
And that allows the person, or that allows you to really get in touch with, well, what is going on? And you ask again and again, and it allows you to go deeper and to really get at the source of what's going on. Where do you feel that in your body? What's going on in your world, in your life,
Yeah.
where that's coming to? And it can be very, I mean, I know I've experienced it. It can come on very subtly, and all of a sudden you wake up and you're just like, and it's because you're not in touch, we're not in touch, checking in with ourselves day to day, what's going on. And so
Yeah.
it's really a self-exploration of where did that hope go? Why am I so demotivated or not looking forward to anything?
Let's talk about thriving because my show, the Dr. Pat Show, it has a tagline. It's had it since 2003. And I believe me, don't even ask me how I came up with it. Somebody said I had to have a tagline. So I came up with talk radio to thrive by. I want to talk
Mhm.
about thriving and what a thriving life looks like. Because the good news for somebody like me, I'm surrounded by people like you. And so I don't stay in a place very long and
Mhm.
I get over myself because I have tools.
Mhm.
But we don't just want to get by. We do want to
No,
thrive, don't we? What does that
we
look like?
we do. And Dr. Pat, it's having that toolbox, that you mentioned. It's having those tools to go to. That's one of the things I learned is having this collection of tools and things that I can go to help me remember to check in. So when we talk about thriving, it's getting back to yourself. And we talked last week a lot, or the last episode about self-trust, and a lot of this intermingles here. It's and first what I want to say too is when we look about what's going on with us, say with the nervous system, we can get in touch with it's not it's not a personal failure, that we feel this way. It's not who we are. It's what our body does and how it's been trained
Hmm.
to deal with things. And so it's not who we are. So it's really getting in touch with that. What are our boundaries? What's taking away from, our energy? Getting in touch with what's sapping us so we can get in touch with, well, what's going to bring us back? noticing our body and what's it saying. Am I overstimulated? Have I been in front of my computer too long? Do I need to get out? And making those decisions slowly, not like we have to go and fix things quickly. If we're feeling uncomfortable, oh, I don't want to feel that way. So it's really a slowing down and really making an intention, I think, first to say what's important here. And then we can really start to build that self-trust up to say, yeah, I want to do more than survive. I do want to thrive. But I think it's really that awareness and getting in touch and having those tools at your beck and call so you can say, yep, I'm gonna use this one today.
Yeah.
So
And I think also part of that is we have to learn how to be calm within the storm. We
yeah.
really do have to learn that. And there are reasons for that, because if we're not calm in the storm, then we're adding storm to the storm. And, there are really some downsides to that. I'm not saying we don't need to react. Like this morning, we had a technical issue.
Hmm.
And I stayed calm, but I moved into action quickly,
Hmm.
multiple things, reaching out, trying to figure it out, like
Hmm.
at least a dozen emails to my tech or messages to my tech team. It doesn't mean I was in chaos about it. It's that
Hmm.
I wanted to know, how do we fix it? What do we do? And then in the end, you find out that it's something unusual that you just never pay attention to, that you're
Hmm.
now going to pay attention to.
Right.
So, can you
Hmm.
talk about spirituality? Because I'm finding now that that is my gateway now. And
Yeah.
without it, it's really hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's, if you want to bring the spiritual aspect into it, everything is spiritual, but making an intention to really stop and take those pauses, even maybe when you're in the midst of those phone calls, maybe, or those emails, maybe there was a moment where it felt a little like the energy was taking you away. Just hypothetically, as an example, stop and say, okay, I need to take a few deep breaths here. Let me get regrounded. I know I got to do some swift action here. And you can also be mindful of that at the same time. So, and it's the practice. It's that using the muscle. It's not like one day we're aware and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm going to fix it in 2 days. I like to go there, but it doesn't work. But it doesn't work. So it's really about being mindful about slowing down. It's letting go, like I said before, of what's draining us, getting in touch with maybe there's a boundary that we haven't set, maybe there's something we haven't said, or maybe it's just that overstimulation. I'm watching too much news, or I'm doing too much work in a concentrated period of time. Take yourself away from that stimulation. And then there was a fun little thing we can do as far as self-trust is really when we listen to our gut, and we make a decision from that, kind of track the outcome and say, okay, how did that work
Yeah.
out? And
Yeah.
then we make a decision maybe from fear or something from the outside that maybe we didn't really resonate with and say, okay, well, how did that work out? And again, going back to the curiosity, no judgment, just say, okay, yeah, I see how that works. And so it's those little steps that we can take to really build that. And that's the spirituality part where we really get in touch with
Hmm.
who we are. We're not our reactions and we're not our fears,
Hmm.
And we all know when we get to that place, that grounded place, yeah, this is where I want to
Hmm.
start from. And we grow into it.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about this in more detail because there's something you said that just hit me right between the eyes. First of all, I have learned enough about myself after many years of thinking I can do everything alone. I'm telling you, if you offered me help, I'm not even sure what I would say to you, but it started to shift when I got clean and sober in 1990. Because that is a practice where, boy, if you don't ask for help, you ain't never going to be clean and sober. But I'm finding now, you asked me a question before we got on air, and I loved it. And the question was, how are you doing? How are you adjusting? And for many people, they may or may not know, I moved from the greater Seattle area to New Jersey. Beautiful part. And my reaction had to do with organizing clothes drawers. And I realized to myself that this is a journey that I need to practice everything you're saying today. Here's the thing I want to ask you, because self-care means that you reach out to someone, even if you don't know what you need help with, and ask
Yeah.
and talk about how that works with you and how you help people soften and rebuild that self-trust.
Yeah. It's really, it's creating that space for openness. That's one of the things that I really find sacred in what I do. And I, and presence with people. Um, I find it so valuable when someone is 100% present with
Mm,
me because I can feel it. And I
mm,
can feel just the acknowledgement of that space where you don't even have to say much. And so it's creating that space. And then that allows you to open up and say, I don't know what's going on. I just know I want to walk along with somebody to do this. And so, the practice of coaching is allowing that person to find out what's going on for them. It could take 2 or 3 sessions. They'll find it. And as a coach, it's my 100% trust in that person that they have their answers.
mm,
I'm providing that space for them.
yeah,
And so I really want to empower people to know that you have the answer and you can do it. And it can be hard doing it on your own. We can be empowered by the tools we have, but sometimes, I get inside my head and I have all these thoughts, and then all of a sudden I'm just like, I don't know where I am. And sometimes I
I
just have to
know.
blurt. I just have to call somebody and say, I just need to talk and see what's going on. And just that opportunity to do that or to work through even some of my own peer and support coaching. I go through that to keep
Yeah.
myself in balance
Yeah.
and to do that. And so there's a lot of work that goes there too, which is important. So you're right. It's having that support and it's knowing that you have that space to go to. And we don't always know what we're going to find. And a lot of
Yeah.
times we find some really nice surprises and some really wonderful awarenesses.
There's no question about
So,
that. And that's why I love this. And, I've been able to take this journey with you from first meeting you to building the beautiful website. And by the way, what is the best way for people to find out more about you? Let's give them your website right now, if you don't mind. I know Jessica's putting
sure.
it up on the screen, but
Yeah.
if there are people, if you all are listening to this and you're thinking, I'm so tired of just surviving and doing everything by myself, I'm not saying we don't need to take care of ourselves and really look at ourselves on how to grow. But when you're at a real pivotal point or a tipping point, as my colleague and friend Jean Houston would say, it is way too hard to do alone. So, how do people find out? Let's give them your website and how they can contact you.
Yeah, so let's go to OurSoulWhisper.com, and I'm always available by email as well. It's OurSoulWhisper@gmail.com. And I would love to hear from you if you want some more information or just to have a discovery call and just kind of talk about what may be, you know, the best journey for you and the
Mhm.
best way to go forward. So,
I saw something in preparing for today, and I want to talk to you about. I want to make sure we cover it. And in this idea of softening and what we mean by that, we should talk about that.
yeah.
But because attached to that is this sense of rebuilding self-trust. And here's what we miss a little bit, Kathy, in the human potential arena, and you've got it here today. We have all of this academic research on trust. And
Mhm.
yet we don't apply it to ourselves. But one of the things you're going to talk about here and walk us through is how to keep the tiny promises you make. And You have no idea how the research that I've done and published papers on this is so prominent. It's so
Hmm.
out there for other individuals, like our relationship or my relation.
Hmm.
But yet, the same principles do apply to us. I mean, where do we go
They
if we're
do.
not going to keep promises to ourselves?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I just had a thought, Dr. Pat. I think when we talk about, trust even in others, when we think about trusting others, if we find that someone follows through, yeah, we can trust them, and that builds.
Yeah.
We say what we're going to do. And yes, it's applying it to ourselves. It's saying, okay, today I'm going to hold that boundary that I set, and it may be uncomfortable, and I know it's right for me. I'm going to do it.
Mm,
I'm going to take those little steps, and it doesn't have to be huge. What little thing can I do today that's going to build that? Because, we've trained our nervous system to be in survival mode for so long. And now it's that retraining. It's getting back in touch with how can we bring that parasympathetic back and how can we get in touch with that? And it's creating that safety within us, knowing that whatever's going on, if we're out in public and it gets a little bit too crazy, we know we can always go back to ourselves,
yeah.
somewhere we can do. And we take for granted our breath. And it keeps us
Powerful.
alive.
Yeah.
And yeah, I find, before each podcast, I sit and breathe,
Hmm.
and it grounds me. And it just takes a few minutes. And it's not this shallow breathing, but this deep inhale, hold for a minute, exhale
Yeah.
fully, and just really allow that. And I think we think it's too easy, or, oh, it's not going to work or whatever, but it's taking those few minutes and doing that. That can really soften and ground us, and doing what makes us happy. What's going to bring us joy
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
moment? Maybe it's looking at those little baby pictures or baby animal pictures, whatever it is,
Yeah.
just kind of
Hmm.
softens us. And we can trust ourselves to be able to bring us back to ourselves. It's different for everyone. We can give all of our wonderful ideas here. And that's wonderful about coaching, because that allows you as the client to really get in touch with what softens and grounds you. What comes to mind when you think about self-trust and how you can honor yourself with that?
Yeah. It's interesting we're talking about this, and I want to go back to something you said before. I want to talk about tiny promises for a minute because sometimes we just think we got to eat the whole thing, right?
Hmm.
But let's give a simple example. I made a
Okay.
commitment a couple of weeks ago that one of the priorities was to make sure my body, my spirit, my soul, everything is really moving towards alignment. And I
Hmm.
realized pretty much except for taking better care of my body. So I came up with silly things and I was so proud of myself this morning. Okay, don't laugh, but I was really proud of myself this morning because I said I was going to cook hard-boiled eggs. I've been saying it for 2 weeks. And I finally got up this morning because I'm trying to figure out the clock here. And I actually did it.
Hmm.
And I know it seems silly, but for somebody like me, protein of that nature is extremely important.
Hmm.
And yet, you can't beat yourself up for taking 2 weeks to get there. And that's the
Right.
other thing we do if we
Hmm.
don't get something done. So, tiny promises that we keep for ourselves. Talk about the importance of how to do that, but also how to honor the limits, how to understand what you can do and what you can't.
Yeah. Well, those tiny promises, it goes back to our trusting ourselves. So yes, may have taken you a couple weeks to make those hard-boiled eggs. And how did it feel when you did do it?
Oh my God, I was like having a happy dance. But it's all
Yeah.
to your point.
And it's focusing on that happy dance, that moment. And it's being able to allow to release that baggage of it. Okay, it took me 2 weeks. All right, well, it took you 2 weeks. Maybe what were you doing in the meantime that maybe it did? Maybe something else was taking your energy. So it's an exploration, but it's also that willingness to let go and to focus on that feeling of that happy dance when you made those hard-boiled eggs, knowing that that protein is going to keep you in with your commitment to this alignment that you're going towards. And so that's what the coaching does. It takes those small successes and those small hip hip hoorays, and I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And so, and that's why we say tiny, because they're manageable. They're manageable steps, and they give us that confidence and that encouragement and that empowerment to say, yeah, I mailed this off today.
Yeah.
I cleaned my desk today, and wow, what a good feeling that is.
Kathy,
And you
thank
remember
you.
you remember the feeling.
I love this. And thank you so much for this. I would love to know what your personal message is, really what you want to leave everybody with, because it's pivotal, especially given the energy that's coming up this year. What do you want to leave us with today?
Yeah, I just want to say, if you're hearing yourself in this, again, being the strong one, you don't have to do that anymore. And it's not wrong. It's just the way that our body's adapted to how we were training it. And so it's like Dr. Pat and I were talking about, taking those tiny steps towards empowerment. And so if you want to start practicing this is the work that I do. And I'd love to walk with you and guide you to, what you want to accomplish and bring to your life.
Kathy, I get asked a lot these days, very, very different versions of, how did you get where you are? How did you do what you do? And I used to have a different answer. And now my answer is, I've not done it alone. I have 5 coaches. I had a spiritual session the other day with my spiritual guru for 90 minutes. And that's the importance of coaching. All of us know this in sports. We just need to wrap our mind around the fact that our lives are living, breathing sports arena. Thank you, Kathy.
Yes,
please give out your website one more time.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Pat. Yep, it's OurSoulWhisper.com.
Thank you so much for today. Surviving is painful, folks. You know what it feels like. I know what it feels like, all of you. And I want to say, many of us have really been down and out in impossible situations, and we're here. And we're here because we didn't do this alone, and we had mentors along the way like Kathy. So please think about not taking this year on by yourself. Do it with somebody that knows what they're doing. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Our Soul Whisper with Kathy and Dr. Pat. Tune in every Pacific on transformationtalkradio.com and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Take a moment now to breathe in and reflect on today's message. If it brought you peace, clarity, or insight, let it settle in your heart and maybe even journal about it. Remember to like and share this episode with someone who's ready to listen within. May our soulful echoes ripple outward, awakening awareness and deep remembrance. If this show touched something within you, share it. Let's create a world where most of us pause, listen inward, and allow our light to shine. Visit OurSoulWhisper.com for more.